I'd like to call to order the Lake Forest School District 67 Board of Education meeting for April 30th, 2019. May I have a roll call, please, Eileen?
Mr. Volker and Mrs. Levert are both on the phone. They're both on business trips at the moment, so they are eligible to call in for the board
Correct.
meeting. Mr. Volker?
Here.
Mrs. Sands?
Here.
Mr. Burkowski?
Here.
Dr. Lemke?
Here.
Mrs. Levert?
Here.
Mr. Novitt?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll go to public participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? If so, please address the podium. Seeing none, we move to our action items. Our only action item, or our first action item, is to accept and approve the abstract of votes. So in front of each board member, you have the abstract of votes. If you'd like to review the abstract of votes, would anyone like to make a motion to accept and approve the abstract of votes as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Well, is there any comment or discussion on the abstract of votes? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Volker?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Burkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Novitt?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask the board to review the resolution authorizing the election of new board members, which you each have in front of you. Our board clerk has asked that I read it for the public record. Whereas there has been presented to this Board of Education and duly filed with the Secretary thereof the report of the Lake County Canvassing Board of the annual election held in and for the School District 67 on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019, which reports show that at said election, 50,068 ballots were cast in Lake County. And whereas votes cast for members of the Board of Education District 67 are Suzanne Sands, 1,475, Justin Engeland, 1,450, Richard Chun, 1,450. Whereas 3 candidates shall be seated, each with 4-year terms, it is therefore and hereby resolved and declared by this Board of Education of Lake Forest School District 67, Lake County, Illinois, that Suzanne Sands, Justin Engeland, and Richard Chun have been elected members of said Board of Education. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing election of new board members, please?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
You guys are really on a roll here. Yeah, a little too eager.
First time.
Is there any discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please, Eileen?
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert for the resolution of election.
Aye.
Mr. Volker?
Aye.
Mr. Burkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Novitt?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will now administer the oath of office to our newly elected board members. Suzanne, Justin, and Richard, if you'd please go to the podium where you will find the oath. And if you could all read that together, that would be great.
We have to read it like in concert.
Leave us off, Suzanne.
Ready?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, let's not do the glasses for the picture. Sorry.
Justin, you want to do the hair flip also?
Sorry, okay. We don't need to advertise. I, Suzanne Sands.
I,
Do we
Richard Chun,
do
I, Justin Engeland,
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of the City of Lake Forest School District 67 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting, and I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Lake Forest School District 67. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community's schools to advance the vision for Lake Forest School District 67, and I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mike.
May I have a motion for the current school board to adjourn Sina DA?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Mr. Novitt?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Say hello. Thank you so much. Name is Kent or Tom. You have to stay.
All right, well, I have you all in a very awkward position here because if I don't call the meeting to order, then there's not a meeting. So I can sort of run the clock out here. Right, this is the only meeting where the superintendent actually gets to do something at the board table. And before I do that, I'd like to say to Tom and to Kent, and most particularly to your spouses. The spouses are the ones that see how much time and how much care goes into the work of the school board. And it has been my honor and privilege to work with you as a high-performing team of 8, as the school board calls it, and Association of School Boards calls it. And I know how much time and how much care each of you have devoted with your respective talents. And so you've been very honorable and hardworking public servants for the community of Lake Forest. So thank you. And for Justin and Richard, it is wonderful to see your parents and siblings and your children or a niece in the audience, and your spouses, again, are going to be the ones, and your family members are going to be the ones that see the work that you put forth for the community and how important this is. My former school board president said something that has always stuck with me, and he said that the school board is the purest form of the American democracy. 96% of the revenue for our school district is raised locally, and it is spent on what people in our community care about and cherish the most, and that is the children of our community. And so with that, welcome, and I'd like to call our Board of Ed to order, please. And I'd like to have a motion to approve the president pro tem.
I'd like to nominate Suzanne Sands as the President Pro Tem.
Second.
May I have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Engeland?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none, may I have a motion to nominate the President of the Board of Education?
I'd like to nominate Mike Borkowski.
Second. May I have a roll call vote, please? Oh, Alice. Either way. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Mr. Engeland?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to nominate the Vice President of the Board of Education?
Vice
I would
President?
like to nominate,
Go ahead, Vice President.
I would like to nominate Dr. Rob Lemke as Vice President of the Lake Forest District 67 School Board.
Second.
Aye.
Roll call vote. Mrs.
Roll
Sands?
call vote, please, Eileen.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Engeland?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to nominate the Secretary of the Board of Education? I'd like to nominate Alice Levert as the Secretary of the Board of Education. Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Mr. Engeland?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We now move to action items on our agenda. We have a couple of action items tonight. Our first action item is a resolution for our outgoing board member, Kent Novitt. The resolution reads, whereas Kent Novitt has faithfully served the city of Lake Forest and its children with dedication as a member of the Board of Education of School District 67 from 2015 to 2019. And whereas during his tenure, he served as the secretary of the board from 2015 to 2017 and performed this function in the most able fashion. And whereas during his tenure, Kent served on the Finance and Operations Committee from 2015 to 2019. In this capacity, he provided sound leadership and ensured oversight to all major district revenues, expenses, the audit, investments, and all district operations, and offered a community perspective on the relationship between departments, schools, and district goals and budgets. Whereas Kent served on the Policy Committee from 2015 to 2019 and was chairman from 2017 to 2019. He spent countless hours ensuring the district was up to date and comprehensive in scope in all of its school policies. And whereas his fellow board members, administrators, and staff will miss his calm and thoughtful nature, commitment to his responsibilities, his devotion to the children of 67, and his dedication to the school community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the City of Lake Forest School District 67 does express for itself, as well as for the parents, students, staff, and citizens of Lake Forest, its sincere appreciation and gratitude to Kent Novitt for all he has done to advance the quality of education in the City of Lake Forest, adopted this 30th day of April 2019. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote on that resolution for Kent Novitt, please.
Mr. England?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And members of the board, and I'm actually using the microphone for once, which is breaking a streak, but I'll try to make my comments very short because you have a full slate today. Your hours continue. It was an interesting thing in the last week when I'd run into people who would ask me if I'm still on school board, and I mentioned that I was in my last week. The universal comment that came to me is, you must be glad. That's a thankless job. And I'd have to correct everyone because I'm not racing to the door, even though I've been shown the door today. I leave truly not wishing to go and wishing I could stay, maybe getting one more bite of that meal, one more opportunity to be involved. And there are opportunities to be involved as a member of the community. When I came on the board, comments to Richard and Justin are, I wasn't really sure of the function of the board, how they operated as a group. And after the 4 years, the interesting thing about this group that you're going to find out is it's not individuals that compose this board. This board's a team, and they function very well as a team. They respect each other's comments. At no point in time when words would come out of my mouth that I would think would be coming from left field, did anyone roll their eyes, criticize me? There are only words of encouragement all the way through. And that's the way this board will continue to function. I think there's members of the community that don't recognize that. You'll soon find out that's very true. When I initially came on the board, I truly wanted to enter it with the thought of I'd change things drastically, but the thing you're going to realize is this school board and administration in District 67 is very well managed. I thought there'd be an opportunity to trim items from the budget, manage money in a different way, possibly as far as how the schools were composed, change things, create new ideas. New ideas are created, but I guarantee you that this board has all the way through before I was on it, and despite me while I was on it, managed things professionally and as best they can possibly be. Richard, Justin, I've said it before, but if you think of, and this might predate a few people, the 1927 Yankees, you're in an incredible batting order here. It's great to be a member of this group. It's, in my mind, watching them function, seeing what they do, truly impressed me, and they'll continue to do so. Leaving the board and ending this speech, so you're not here all night, be assured that, again, everything is well managed. I know that the function of the board is, again, not to create, but to make sure that Mike and administration is driving the car properly. And believe me, Mike has this car moving forward, progressing, and I think more of our job is to make sure he stays on the road. It's not a difficult job to do because he does everything well. This group is wonderful. I really regret leaving. You'll function well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Next, we have a resolution regarding Tom Ford. The resolution states, whereas Thomas Ford has faithfully served the city of Lake Forest and its children with dedication as a member of the Board of Education for School District 67 from 2015 to 2019. And whereas during his tenure, Tom served on the Finance and Operations Committee since 2015 and as the chairman from 2017 to 2019. In this capacity, Tom provided sound leadership and ensured oversight to all major district revenues, expenses, the audit and investments, and to all district operations, and offered a community perspective on the relationship between departments, schools, and district goals and budgets. Whereas Tom served as the chairman of the Compensation Committee from 2015 to 2017 and ensured a thorough review of administrative compensation. And whereas Tom served as the district's legislative liaison from 2017 to 2019 to keep the Board of Education and community informed about the state of Illinois' educational policies that are priorities for our schools. And whereas Tom's fellow board members, administrators, and staff will miss his financial acumen, commitment to his responsibilities, his devotion to the children of District 67, and his dedication to the school community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the City of Lake Forest School District 67 does express for itself, as well as the parents, students, staff, and citizens of Lake Forest, its sincere appreciation and gratitude to Thomas Ford for all he has done to advance the quality of education in the City of Lake Forest, adopted this 30th day of April 2019. May I have a motion to approve said resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Comments or discussion? Roll call vote, please. Eileen.
Mr. Engeland?
Aye.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And work we shall do. Our night is not over. May I have a motion to approve the 2019-2020 board meeting dates as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or discussion on the 2019-2020 board meeting dates? Roll call vote, please, Eileen.
Mrs. Sands?
Aye.
Mr. Engeland?
Aye.
Mrs. Levert?
Aye.
Mr. Folker?
Aye.
Mr. Borkowski?
Aye.
Dr. Lemke?
Aye.
Mr. Chun?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Comments or discussion? All in favor of moving to executive session?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Great. The motion to move to executive session passed. We'll take about a 5-minute break, and we'll meet across the hall in executive session.